Welcome back to Switch to Linux. It is Friday and it's time for the news, and oh boy, there is uber trouble ahead. Lots of uber trouble ahead. We're going to start in talking about our business news, a few different business items out there to look at. First and foremost, before we dive into business, if you are a business owner, if you run a website, are you ready for GDPR? Because it has started today. And Google and Facebook were already hit with $8.8 billion in lawsuits in day one because of GDPR. Oh, God. You know, realize, people, this is only going to hurt the people who want to play by the rules, and it is not going to hurt the scammers who don't care. In fact, already today, I encountered things that I'm pretty sure were probably scammy things. But let's go ahead and cash on in. Let's just not look at GDPR. We were given this crazy lemon. Let's make some lemonade, folks. So let me give you guys some user tips. GDPR, a lot of companies are coming back in like, we're revamping our privacy policy, we're re-opting everybody, and we're doing all these. I have used all that opportunity today to reply, I do not consent to your new policies and terms. I do not have any interest in your business. Delete all my data according to regulations set forth in GDPR. So if you are looking for a beautiful time to get removed from all of these crazy lists, it has been a glorious heyday in my office as companies are running scared because day one happens. This occurs, the two big companies, $8.8 billion of lawsuits on day one, and then a lot of people are like, maybe we're taking this seriously. Now, mind you, these things may or may not go through. They're just lawsuits filed. Anybody can file a lawsuit against anybody. And this is just kind of one of those things, is that, you know, these people are waiting for this day so that they could just, 8 a.m., it's now illegal. Boom. While a lawyer's office is open, lawsuits were filed because, despite, I mean, I think Facebook has backed off a little bit. Google is very transparent with the data that they have. And so I think at least Google for sure is mostly GDPR compliant-ish. Facebook, I don't know. But regardless, this does to me look more like a money grab than anything else. But it is worthy of consideration. Make sure next couple of days, if you have a website, if you have online contact forms, make sure you have a plan in place, maybe something written up, a method of practice, whatever else, so that you comply, even if you're not in the EU, with GDPR. Because frankly, I think this GDPR thing's a little bit too late, but I think it's probably what we need. We need something like this. With something like this, I could tell Equifax, you don't have my permission on my data. Delete it. That's probably why we don't have one like this. But anyway, first case, I believe both these came by one Austrian privacy activist. I might be a privacy activist, but I'm not a lawsuit kind of guy. He's basically saying, you know, this requires clear consent and justification for any personal data collected from users. And you know what? I mean, I hate to do it. I really hate to do it. I really hate to do it. But guys, you created a Facebook account. You de facto gave them permission to collect any amount of data that they want. That's why I deleted my Facebook account. That's why I deleted it. And you know, you get the same situation with Google. Now, I was talking, was it my brother maybe I was talking about somebody? I don't know. If you're on, let me know. Was that you I was talking about, or somebody else I was talking about? It's like, it's virtually impossible to get Google out of your life. It's like, not really. I mean, yes and no. It depends on what level of whatever you're doing. I have some Google accounts for businessy type stuff, but there's no Gmail there. There's no Google Docs. I think there's one or two spreadsheets that are shared with a client so we can keep bids and quotes straight because we do a lot of projects together. But I'm not using Google to back up all my photos and do all this kind of stuff. But basically, I have only given Google permissions that we need. Also, though, I'll tell you that I told you guys about before I've had to get rid of a phone number that I've had for about 20 years because of scammers. I just decided, you know what? I ported it to Google. Because I have all these business Google accounts, like I can throw that phone number on that Google account. Cost me a $20 one-time fee. I'll have the phone number there for life. It doesn't have to ring a call. And it'll email me when somebody calls the number and leaves a message or something, but it never rings the phone anymore. It's so glorious. Despite that, I still have annoying people calling me, but hey, they can talk to the Google bot now. That's all right. I don't mind. But the point is that you're using these types of services, you are indeed opting in. Now, these services are collecting more data than you imagine. So I'm certainly not a big advocate of any of these services, and I recommend people use as few of them as possible and give each one of them that you do use as little information as possible. Don't use it as your free backup bin like the gentleman on the video we did the other day. I loved his concepts, but man, he's got all his eggs in Google's basket, and that's a bad basket to have your eggs in. But regardless, this this happened, and so Google and Facebook were hit with $8.8 billion in lawsuits at like 8:01 this morning because, the lawyer was 1 minute late. So of course, people were all up in arms about Google. By the way, what was the name of that thing? That Google thing that could call and do phone calls for you. Well, Microsoft acquires an AI company so that Cortana to incorporate with Cortana to make Cortana sound human. This is all we need. Do we need to remind you of Tay? Tay, was that Tay Facebook or was that Microsoft? I think Tay was Facebook, wasn't it? I forget. Who was Tay? I'm forgetting. Anyway, it's one of those. Regardless, we don't need Cortana sounding more like a human. We already have illegal robocalling. We don't need illegal robocalling with this kind of stuff. And we certainly don't want, I do not want Microsoft's perfectly human sounding AI Cortana, aka Skynet's bride, calling me on the phone, pretending to be a real human being. This is a bad idea, people. And Microsoft has become so data hungry lately, they will stop at nothing to collect every bit of data that they can. That's why I was really scared about their IT or IoT services. The new Microsoft Linux distro is a little microscale Linux distro that fits into everything. Does anybody, can anybody still explain to me why they have an AI system, an IoT item pointing to the cow? Literally. The IoT system was pointing to the cow. Your coffee pot, I get it. I can be sitting in bed and pull out my smartphone and push the button and my coffee will start brewing. Get up, lazy bum. Click the on button. It's really not that hard. But anyway, the IoT will do all this. And then, of course, it will measure about what time. And so it can predict from the time you shut off your lights to the time you wake up in the morning, what are the averages? And the thing knows exactly how much you sleep and when you're sleeping. And so depending on, you might even have an odd schedule. But even though having an odd schedule, based on the time you turned off the light, Microsoft will know when to turn on the coffee pot in the morning. So the last drip hits the time you meander like a zombie into the kitchen. We don't need that kind of stuff, people. We don't need it. It's going too far. But that's exactly what they're doing. I did an article on that a couple weeks ago. But this is, they purchased Azure Bot services. This is used to work closely with Cortana so that they can make more human-sounding voices. Oh, God. Oh, God. Apple's in the news. Apple's been in the news a few different things today. Of course, the biggest thing, I think, is that court documents were released by the judge saying they actually knew about that Bendgate situation. But this is something different. iOS had previously said, oh, yeah, we're going to allow this Steam Link app. And then they backpedaled. They said, no, we're not going to approve the app because it directly competes with us. Basically, their idea comes down to the fact that the thing doesn't necessarily give them their 30% profit when somebody buys an app. This is how these walled gardens are dangerous. There's a lot of people who like and use Steam, and then if you're trying to use Steam and you're in the Apple ecosystem, Apple just made your decision on your behalf. No, you're not going to use Steam. You have to use our approved systems instead, because you being on Steam gives Steam more money and not us more money. So you shape up, you little Apple sheep. You get back to your books on iMacintology, and you iSheep need to go on back and go right on back into the things we want you to do. We have the services for you to screencast. You don't need Steam. That's what their message was. And so this is a really bad thing that Apple does this. And by the way, Microsoft has this power and Google has this power. They can refine you right on into the ecosystem that they want for your maximum profit potential for them. I'm just so glad I'm done with Apple. course, this is called Uber Trouble Ahead, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Uber for the rest of these articles. All right, so Uber, we kind of reported a little bit on this last week. So the final NTPS report came out. I read it. It's all of 4 pages. You should check it out. So this is kind of closer to, not the final, but this is the preliminary finding from the NTSB about the lady who was killed in Arizona. And was that March-ish, whenever that was. So what they finally determined is that, yeah, all the sensors worked just fine. It just said, you know what, that's an unidentified object in the road going right into our travel lane. Let's just hit it. It doesn't really matter. Just run right on through that thing. And that's just kind of the situation. Now, what they said here is that this car is equipped. It's a Volvo car. And the Volvo car came equipped with all of the safety equipment that if the Uber's software was not autonomously driving the car would have stopped. Volvo said no, the problem is they disabled the automatic safety braking feature because it didn't provide a good user experience, people. It would cause the thing to brake if an unknown object came out in the middle of the road. Guys, if you're in a car, you want the car to stop if an unknown object hits the road. Uber's trying to kill us. And this is the company who wants to have flying taxis. They already have auto-driving 18-wheelers driving down the road. We're going to die. We're going to die. Uber's going to kill us. It started with this lady in Arizona. They just need to buy that patent from Google, you know, the thing that, you know, when you get hit, you know, in physics, you know, you get hit and there's too many collisions, you know. You get hit, there's the collision where the object hits your body flies, your body hits the pavement, and then your organs hit the inside of your body cavity. Usually it's that second or that third impact that really do you in the most. You know, the first impact's actually not all that bad. You kind of do one of these first onto the car. Well, Google, like 2 years ago, they actually had a patent for a sticky coating that as these autonomous, robotic, murderous, Christine-like cars would meander on down the road and you'd hit people, they just stick like fly paper. Uber needs to invest in that, so that as they run these people over, they can just stick right to the hood. Let's prevent them from having 2 more collisions. But that's what the final NTSB report is that, yeah, the crash happened because Uber disabled the automatic braking feature that Volvo actually had enabled to, you know, prevent the car from slamming into unknown objects in its path. But, you know, we think that's a bike, but we're not sure. We think that's a human, but we're not sure. Put them together, we have no idea. Let's just go barreling through it. And the thing hit the woman. It never had any brake at all. It hit the woman at 39 miles an hour. Just never braked. This is like Christine, man. This is like Christine. And so that's kind of that. So Uber wants to go ahead and they're done in Arizona. They're like, Arizona's like, we don't know. But Pittsburgh, they're like, hey, we're going to go ahead and start ramping up our run in Pittsburgh again. Because, of course, Pittsburgh is one of these areas. And they never let the city government know. The city government found out by a tweet from Uber. And the mayor's kind of a little angry. So he releases a press statement. And he says, let's see, Uber's ending the automated vehicle program in Phoenix following a fatal crash in March and planning to resume testing in Pittsburgh this summer. Quote, I made it clear to the Uber officials after Arizona crash that a full federal investigation had to be completed with strong rules for keeping streets safe before I would agree to let the company begin testing on Pittsburgh streets again. End quote. They say, in talks with the company officials, I and the city's Department of Mobility and Infrastructure additionally required conditions with Uber before Pittsburgh would agree to testing. The conditions included that, number 1, automated vehicles would never exceed 25 miles an hour in the city on any street, regardless of legal speed limits. mostly owing to the probability of survival. Getting hit at 25, you have a greater chance of surviving than even at 30. And number 2, the company used its driver app to alert human drivers when they are exceeding speed limits, so human drivers adhere to the speed limits as well. So Uber did not tell me of today's announcement, and I was forced to learn about it through social media reports. This is not the way to rebuild a constructive working relationship with local government, especially when facing public safety matter. Now, here's the real shocker is, the mayor's office and nobody in the city of Pittsburgh has any final say as to whether Uber continues their work in Pittsburgh. It's up to PennDOT. I will speak as a Pennsylvania resident. God save us all if PennDOT has to make the final determination. This is not good, people. This is not good. So, Arizona's done. Pittsburgh's like, we don't want you here. We are only going to allow it if PennDOT forces us. Ohio's like, we want to be the Wild West of self-driving cars. So my message to you, move out of Ohio. Total OS Today, are you on right now? If you are, what is wrong with the water in Ohio? Or are you guys just going to dig out more potholes and maybe the potholes will eat the autonomous cars? But anyway, the governor, even after the death, after all the controversy, after all of these other issues, after all of the unscrupulousness in Uber, after them saying that it was literally, we cut corners to meet our internal goals, Ohio's like, we want to be the Wild West of you self-driving cars. Oh, God. Oh, God. And so, yeah, he says, John Kasich, who is this guy? You guys need to vote him out soon. I think he's smoking something. He says he wants to make Ohio the wild, wild west for self-driving car testing, regardless of the recent fatal crash in Uber technologies. Republican governor called the March 18 Uber incident terrible, but is plowing ahead anyway. Just like these Uber cars, plowing ahead, man, plowing ahead. The executive order, he signed an executive order that allows companies to test cars in any public road in the state, including without anyone behind the wheel. A licensed driver will have to be monitoring the car remotely and have the ability to avoid accidents if the car's system fails. Like what, a joystick? Uh-oh, the car's doing... I can just see somebody getting in there and playing Midnight Run or maybe Grand Theft Auto. What the hell's that guy care? He's just an underpaid Uber employee. He's probably getting paid minimum wage to sit there and make sure the car doesn't crash. You better believe what I would do in that situation. Let's have some fun. All right. So, quote, you always have to take risks. He said Wednesday while announcing the order, if you don't take risks, you die. I think if you take risks in this case, people will die, dude. Okay, wouldn't it just be amazing, glorious, serendipitous, ironic justice if this guy is run over by a self-driving Uber? Boom, boom, what was that? We don't care. We don't care. It was just an unidentified object in the road. I am going to avoid Ohio for a while. I will go the long way around. Thank you. Kentucky's nice this time of the year. Last candidate to concede the Republican nomination said he grew more and more angry when reading about how Pittsburgh has been chosen for a testing ground because Ohio wasn't keeping up. Hey, Kitty, is this guy psychopathic?
Yes, he's a psycho.
He's a psycho? All right. Kitty agrees. He's a psycho. All right. Oh, boy. Wow. What do you guys think? Is Ohio onto something good here? Is Pittsburgh on the right track? Or, hey, this is just, don't worry about it, yo. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I hope you've enjoyed this video from Switched to Linux. If you'd like to help support the channel, check out the links at the top. There is another video over here. You can check out our Patreon page down here. And you can check out shop.switchtolinux.com for information on a t-shirt like this or some other designs. Thanks for watching and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. sucks.